tell me it's over now. Does a hate inside of me like some kind of master? I try to save you but I can't find the answer. I'm holding on to you, I'll never let go. I need you with me as I enter the shadows.
8.5 years ago, back in October of 2017, I did a commentary on Birds of Destiny, who did a review off of the Jimmy Neutron's episode, The Feud, and even though that the video doesn't exist anymore since that Birds of Destiny is basically moving on with his life outside of the internet, I had the idea on doing my own review of the episode itself, but I never got the chance to get around it with other projects in the way. And since I want to do other Cartoon Crisis 3 videos, this is really the best alternative in order to showcase of how bad this episode is. It's not one of the worst Jimmy Neutron episodes, but on the other hand, it does showcase that one of the fan favorite characters do get terrible episodes regardless. In the beginning, while Jimmy and Carl are playing basketball, Hugh notices crabgrass on his lawn, and he needs to find his lawnmower that isn't in his garage, and he assumes that it's in Mr. Weasel's garage, but Mr. Weasel is telling him the truth, which leads to Hugh thinking otherwise, leading to a fight between him and Mr. Weasel. This leads to the two separating their children from each other, thus beginning the feud between Hugh and Mr. Weasel. Judy tries to finish up this feud by making a pie for the Weasels, but apparently it causes Mr. Weasel to get a rash, which made the feud even more worse as Judy is against Carla's mother as well. So without any other solution, since that all of his gadgets have been confiscated by his dad, Jimmy comes up with a plan in order for his dad and Carla's dad to patch up the feud by working together, which I'm gonna get to later. The biggest issue of this episode is Hugh Neutron himself, and the fact that he assumes that Mr. Weasel stole his lawnmower despite the fact that he's telling the truth, which leads to the ending of the episode that really makes the episode really pointless. He is really unlikable. Granted, I never had an issue with him. In fact, I can really enjoy his jokes in this show. But when it comes to this episode, this is really his worst appearance. Even though that Mr. Weasel's dad made the feud worse, it doesn't really change the fact that Hugh started the feud with a misunderstanding that was resolved at the end of the episode, and the fact that it literally had nothing to do with the Weasels whatsoever. And if you think that him being stupid was mainly his running gag when it comes to the humor that he displays, the humor that he does in this episode really fails. Even with the whole lightsaber bit that I just shown in the last screenshot. Since Jimmy and Carla can't play with each other, especially under the same roofs of their homes, they had to resort on using Wi-Fi technology or virtual communication in order to continue on with their friendship. But it didn't last long as Hugh got into the scene and eliminate the hologram of Carla from Jimmy's room. Stuff like this is a demonstration that when the characters Jimmy and Carla has no control of, and the fact that it was all misunderstanding, you really feel bad for them in the position that they didn't deserve. Despite the fact that Jimmy mentioned an ideal that centers around his inventions really caught to his father that led to him compensating his inventions, honestly, just because Jimmy's invention does go haywire, and it does in this episode, it doesn't really change the fact that he's just attempting to get his friendship back to Carla, and he has a reason to have his inventions do the work despite backfiring. If anything, if he never did anything with his inventions, he will probably have a difficult time making this feud over with in any other way without his inventions. His invention allows crop grass to grow in both lawns of his house and the Weasel's house. And as much as him blurting out that they should work together didn't work out, in all honesty, Carl really made the thing worse by having more crop grass to grow. But at the same time, you can see where he's coming from because he doesn't want his friendship with Jimmy to end like this. When I say Jimmy's invention did went haywire in this, it's mainly the fact that Carl did it, but on the other hand, he really had no other solution. With the amount of time that he has been away from Jimmy, and the fact that it wasn't his fault along with Jimmy, truth be told, you will probably be in Carl's position if you're weak as him. And what ends up happening between them and Sheen, it's really the highlight of this episode. But on the other hand, it doesn't save this episode due to its ending. Despite saving Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen from the crisis, they still go back at it due to Hugh assuming that Mr. Weasel stole his lawnmower, and this leads to Sheen himself. The saving graces of this episode is Sheen when it comes to his reach out and touch a friend program, and the jokes that he makes, which may include the ending, but that also contributes onto why the feud existed in the first place. And I have to say, Sheen wasn't really the issue in this episode, since that it was still all misunderstanding, and regardless of him being mostly the problem, it doesn't really change the fact that he was unaware of the feud itself on why it escalated in the first place. Sheen, singing in the poker theme, gives a message from Sam from the cane bar that he's the one who borrowed the lawnmower, and apparently this causes everyone to go against Sheen. Despite the fact that, like I said, he has no knowledge of how the feud escalated, and truth be told, the fact that Sam was the reason onto why this feud started in the first place, I still don't blame him, but at the same time, Sheen doesn't really deserve the ending in this episode. This ending really feels like a rehash of sending the clones, but it's Sheen being in Jimmy's position, and truth be told, it's more unfair to Sheen than Jimmy, because as far as I'm concerned, the fact that Sheen just probably wasn't aware of the feuding whatsoever between the Neutrons and the Weasels, honestly, the joke that he made in this is honestly ruined due to everyone ganging up on him, despite the fact that he had no knowledge of. Not to mention that Jeffrey Garcia doesn't deserve the treatment when it comes to voicing Sheen and making his joke at the end terrible. And this really factors in Hugh's character in this, of how bad he is, due to the fact that he is just so stupid to the point that, while in some occasions he does make it work, but in this, not so much. And since that he is still mostly to blame in this feud than Mr. Weasel, it just shows to me that Sheen really is put in an unfair position, since that unlike Jimmy in sending the clones, he was being in a position that he had no idea what was going on, not to mention having no control of. Seriously though, what is it with these endings, specifically from Nickelodeon cartoons, that have the characters gain up on the character? Just because Nickelodeon isn't full of nice moments and nice people doesn't automatically mean that bits like these make it excusable. With that being said, I managed to finally review this episode after such a long time, but at the same time, there are still other Jimmy Neutron episodes that are worse than this. The main characters get unfairly punished due to the feud itself. Hugh being a terrible character due to his personality not showcasing his good qualities, with the bad qualities showcasing at his worst. And of course the ending. The saving graces are Sheen and the crop grass situation, but not enough to save this episode. I'm giving this episode a 3 out of 10.
I'll never let